Hey guys, welcome to the Vault. It is Leon and Pierre here. We're here to bring you some exclusive content today. Today we're going to be talking and previewing a collection coming from Mitchell and Ness. It's really exciting. So Pierre, take it away.
Yeah, listen, first I want to kind of address like a new direction that we're going in on the show. And obviously, we're going to still do all the same great content we've done, but we're going to start with a good heavy dose of Mitchell and Ness. Mitchell and Ness is a brand that I've been around for quite a long time. I probably have, 100 of their jerseys. I have hats from them. I have t-shirts, sweatshirts, all that good stuff. And, listen, it's a brand that I think is synonymous with sports and that vintage sort of sports feel. And I also know there's a lot of people out there that love Mitchell and Ness. So I want to make sure that we're providing a nice, diverse palette of content for people. And, there might be some folks that don't like this video or don't like that video, but at the end of the day, Views in the Vault is going to deliver on many different lanes. So new era, Mitchell and Ness, we're going to do sports stuff. So it all kind of converges, but this specific episode is going to really talk through this new championship locker room collection from Mitchell and Ness. Now, two things, right? So first, I'm a Celtics fan.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a Celtics fan, but as a kid, the most iconic moments of my young basketball loving life revolved around the tail end of the Celtics sort of dominance, but it was quickly replaced by Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. Dude, I mean, my weekends were spent, I can remember it, with a little tube TV in my bedroom, right? And listen to Marv Albert call a Chicago Bulls game on national television. It's something I can still hear the voice. I remember the feeling. I remember all of it, man, to the point where, listen, man, if the Celtics were on, the Bulls were on, I was watching the Bulls because I became such an avid fan of Michael Jordan. I just loved him. There was something about the way the guy played the game that was just different to me. It was dominant. It was exciting. He was a goddamn assassin, man. Like, if the game was on the line, he was gonna pull it out somehow. Now, obviously, it took a few years to get to that runway of development and building as a player, but once he was there was no one like him. No one. And the other thing, the second piece, first is my love of Michael Jordan and the Bulls and how it kind of coincided with my love of the Celtics. But the other thing was, listen, championships and locker room hats. I probably, in my years of collecting hats and sports memorabilia, I have so many locker room hats, it's ridiculous. I mean, especially with the dominance of the Boston sports teams over the past couple of decades, I've collected quite a few. And also several, like if a championship just really captured me, I would go and buy the locker room hat, even if it was a team that I wasn't a fan of, but there was something about the championship that really captured me. But I mean, most of the iconic moments of these Chicago Bulls seasons ended with a locker room cap, right?
He didn't lose in the finals.
No, man, the dude was crazy. So I want to show these off, right? And we're going to take a look at these. And these are basically replicas, right?
Yeah, retros or reproductions.
Yeah, reproductions, but right down to the very fine details of the originals that were worn, which is what Mitchell and Ness is known for, right? I mean, they make fantastic stuff, and their basketball stuff is to me, it's the dominant stuff in their catalog, right? I mean,
they own the hardwood classic like rights, so
yeah. Yep. And I think I'm going to go through them, and you and I are going to talk not only about the hat, but also about that year, right? So I'm going to show them, Leon, and you and I did a little bit of work before the show, just kind of looking through them and looking at some real pictures of the locker room afterwards to kind of see the hat in its original form. And we're going to start with this one, which was 91.
Yeah. So this was the year they set a then franchise record, 61 wins. No one really talks about the final so much. Them playing the Lakers, Magic Johnson.
You're right, they don't.
This was really about getting the revenge and beating up the Pistons. They ended up sweeping the Pistons. Pistons were never really the same. At the time, They were kind of the powerhouse of the East. And
they neutered the Pistons, and they
yeah.
said, your time on top is over. You
Yeah.
remember, right? Like the year before, Jordan was getting bullied.
Mhm.
He's getting knocked around. That physical Detroit Pistons team was formidable, man. They were dangerous. They weren't afraid to hit you. And then Jordan in the offseason, some people do talk about the rule changes a little bit. They call them the Jordan rules.
The
They
Jordan
kind of
rules. Mhm.
kind of change things up a little bit. But what gets underestimated in all this is the fact that Michael Jordan also hit the weight room and worked extremely hard to toughen up, to be able to take that beating and still deliver that dominant performance we were used to from him. But you're right, Leon. No one talks about the Lakers. They talk about finally getting past the Detroit Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to like what Boston, right? The Boston New York kind of rivalry. It really took Boston beating New York to get to the World Series. And the World Series is kind of
the World Series. Boston's World Series in 2004 was the ALCS against the Yankees, and the Bulls championship series was truly against the Detroit Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals. Very, very good analogy, Leon. I do agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
These have green unders. Look at this. That's why we look like we're stuck in the 90s right now, because these are from the 90s.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Beautiful hat. All right. So that's the first one. Now let's move on, Leon, to 92, which really capped their first back-to-back, right?
Yeah. So they end up 67 wins, sweep Miami. Knicks gave them a little bit of trouble, but the real thing was they got to play Portland in the final, which was really big because Portland is going to go down as one of those teams that passed on Jordan, right? No one really blames the Rockets for passing on Jordan and taking Hakeem the Dream, but Portland had Clyde Drexler, and they felt that they didn't need another guard, so they ended up taking Sam Bowie, which is slightly regrettable, but you know.
Well, the bigger mistake, right, wasn't about not taking Jordan, right? It was more about taking Sam Bowie over Hakeem Olajuwon. Like that's probably the bigger issue, right?
No, well, so the Rockets took Hakeem at 1, and then Portland took Sam Bowie at 2.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But still, you're passing on Jordan, right? Regardless, you got to take the best player available, you know?
So they end up in the finals. The two, I would say, best guards in basketball at the time.
Correct.
Right? And he beat them. So that was 92. And this is the locker room hat.
Mm-hmm.
This one, you can see there's a difference. Like it's starting to look a little more like
you see the graphics. The graphics
getting
better a little bit.
Yeah. The graphics get a little bit better than the previous year. You know, you're starting to see, all right, you know, just like Jordan's game is improving and getting even more dominant, so were the locker room hats.
Mm-hmm.
So next up is 93, which capped off the back. And this one is where you really start to not only see the difference, aesthetically, but also in the construction. Look at this, man. So this has raised embroidery on it. See it?
Mm-hmm. I gotta say the 93 finals patch and those kind of finals.
This one is a fitted, by the way.
Logos. Those are really fun. Really cool hats.
This is a nice looking hat, man.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So 93, who'd they beat?
This was the year they beat MVP at the time, Charles Barkley, Sir Charles.
Yeah, that's when they beat Barkley.
The Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns had a really crazy high-powered offense, right? They were running through everyone. Dan Marley and
the round mound of rebound won the MVP that year, right? Mm-hmm. And then, so listen, that reminds me. So, yeah, listen to the list of players that Michael Jordan shunned from the championships, right? Mm-hmm. Sean Kemp, mm-hmm. Mark Price, who was, I know people are like, oh, Mark Price. Well, Mark Price was one of the best point guards in basketball. He had Brad Daugherty at center for the Cavaliers, and they didn't get a championship. Penny Hardaway, Tim Hardaway, Dikembe Mutombo. I love me some Dikembe Mutombo. Do you know that guy had a 4.0 at Georgetown?
That's hard to do, right? Georgetown's primarily a
school, right? That's a great school. And let me tell you something. Dikembe Mutombo is a brilliant man. Reggie Miller. Patrick Ewing, Karl Malone, John Stockton, Charles Barkley, who they beat in 93. Think about that list of players that were never allowed to win a championship because Michael Jordan was in the league.
Yeah. Most of those guys in the Hall of Fame, right? I think maybe not Sean Kemp, maybe not Mark Price, but everyone else.
Mark Price definitely isn't in the Hall of Fame, but when you think of guys like Karl Malone and John Stockton, those are, we're talking big time winners in the NBA. So then Michael goes on. Michael's father passes, and he goes into his first retirement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And dabbles in some baseball, whatever. Comes back though, right? And Leon, take us from there. So I've got we're not going to talk too much about 95 because 95 is where he came back half a season, right?
Yep. So the Rockets win 2 in a row in their absence. So then when Jordan comes back, they end up avenging the loss to Orlando.
Here. Yep.
And then they end up beating the Supersonics, headed by Gary Payton, Sean Kemp.
That 96 championship series, it was capped really by the switch to Gary Payton covering him and the what ifs, because it was more competitive with Gary Payton covering Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Payton was a great defensive player, a shit talker, much like Michael Jordan. I mean, those two could talk with the best of them. They're probably the 2 best trash talkers in all sports, man. I mean, it was incredible, right? And Sean Kemp, I mean, I don't know about you, man, but you were old enough to watch him, right?
Yeah. The Rain Man.
Yeah.
I used him in NBA Jam and stuff.
He was one of the most explosive power forwards. I mean, this dude could touch the top of the backboard, for Christ's sakes. I mean, this guy was incredible athlete. And him and Gary Payton together were incredible to watch. But again, not on Michael Jordan's watch, right?
Yeah.
So there was 2 versions of the 96 cap in this pack. You got the white one. Look at that Raisin Bro. That's nice, man.
Yeah.
These look old though, man. That's what they're supposed to look like. These look retro, These are going to have a special place in the vault because of how much they mean to me too. I mean, this was basketball I watched as a kid and I just soaked it all in. So they had white and also black.
I think the biggest what if on this season was, the Rockets were going for their own 3-peat. They got 2 while Jordan was away. They never got to play the Bulls, and that's kind of what the world was robbed of a little bit because, a lot of things, a lot of people question, would the Rockets have won if Jordan was still playing basketball? But we'll never know. It's just kind of one of those things. But
the tough thing would have been who would cover Hakeem.
Yeah.
I mean, he was playing at another level at that point, and I mean, you never know though. I mean, it's
one of the big what ifs of basketball.
Yeah, it's one of the big what ifs in basketball. So now we move into 97.
Mm-hmm. So this one, not really much resistance in the league. They just end up beating John Stockton and Karl Malone.
There's the important piece. Again, poor John Stockton and Karl Malone. The mailman couldn't deliver because Michael Jordan was standing in his way. I mean, and listen, I keep talking about Jordan, but you got to remember Scottie Pippen, B.J. Armstrong, Tony Kukoc. There were so many. Even those centers that the Luke Longleys, the Bill Cartwrights, all Dennis Rodman, Horace Grant, all these different players that were kind of supporting him in this. Steve Kerr, John Paxson,
Ron Harper.
Ron Harper. I mean, so many different players. We keep talking about Jordan, but because that's the guy that really was the engine behind it all. But my God, man, I mean, this reminds me of that time. Do you know what I mean? That's what I love about this stuff. It reminds me of that time. There's certain hats that I love the logo on the front, and then there's other hats that kind of connect with me differently because of what I remember from when that happened. Can't you just picture Jordan throwing this on his head?
Cigar in his mouth.
Yeah.
Hugging the Larry O.B. Yeah.
Yep. That's it, man. That's it. All right. So then we move into The Last Dance, right?
The Last Dance.
The Last Dance. Now this one, if you watch the documentary, The Last Dance, or you watch this when it happened, I mean, you got to remember this hat because he's standing You know, it's really the last swan song for them, right? And Jordan's wearing this hat, right? Next to Phil Jackson, holding that Larry O'Brien, and just kind of like knowing that it was coming to an end, you know?
Yeah.
Look at this. And tell me this doesn't look like 1998.
It feels like
This
1990. I feel like you need to be wearing a windbreaker with this hat.
this hat screams 1998, not in a bad way,
Mhm.
in a nostalgic, I want to feel like I was there again kind of way.
Yeah. And this is the replay, seeing like how many times, he's pushing off a little bit. He gets away with a little bit of a push on Russell, but, hits him with the last shot, Jordan 14.
Dude,
Swish.
that was one of my favorite sports moments of all time.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a push off.
Yeah, whatever. It's Jordan, man.
It's fucking Jordan, man. Look at this. So that's the pack, man. And the one I'm wearing, which is a
Finals. Yeah. Finals logo.
Let's go through them again real quickly. Is that okay?
Yeah, no problem.
All right. So we start
the first
91,
one. Get over the hump.
91. Now I want you to look at how the styles change over the years, though. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny and cool to see, right? 91. Yeah. You got that felt kind of applique patch, right?
Yeah, it's like it's sewn onto the felt, and then the felt's just stuck on.
Then
back to back.
92, back to back. Right? You got
back to back.
This one's cool as hell, man. This is probably the best looking front of any of them.
Mm-hmm. It's a fitted,
yeah. Then 96 had the white version. Now this looks like friggin' 96, man. I mean, look at this. Like,
Yeah.
Like not only would it be a windbreaker, but it would be one of those satin windbreakers. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Then you have it in black as well.
Clean
as fuck, right? Yes. Love this thing. All right, then we move on to 97. I like that part right there.
Yeah.
And then finally, The Last Dance.
The culmination.
Look at this, Leon.
That's crazy.
All business up front, party in the back, right? Look at this.
Yeah. That's like my hair. If my hair was a embroidery, that's what it looked like.
Is there number 6 over there? This is probably as obnoxious as a hat gets, but God, you gotta love it. You gotta love it because of what it stands for, Yeah, but that's it, man. That's the pack, dude. That is the pack. The championship locker room collection from Mitchell and Ness, man. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Leon?
Just Jordan, just what he stood for, what just transcended the game, like he hasn't played for like 20 years, and yet his shoe is the number one shoe still. He's just influenced so many people to play worldwide. He's Jordan, man.
What athlete is better known than Michael Jordan? Like which one?
I don't think anyone's close, right?
I don't think so. I mean, there's gonna be some folks that even if someone denies that he's the best player to ever play, no one doesn't know who he is.
Yeah, it's like
if you go and ask my son who's 13 right now,
yeah,
who's the best basketball player in the history of basketball?
It's Michael Jordan.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say my son's right or wrong. I'm just going to say, that's what he would say.
Yeah. Like in every other sport, I guess Gretzky is far and away the unanimous best hockey player, but like, baseball, there's no clear number one. Football, there's no clear. I mean, most people would say Brady, right? But
I think they'd say I think you could say who the biggest winners are.
Yeah. But the best player
in basketball would be like Jordan, Bill Russell, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like Magic Johnson. You'd say there's some names, right?
Yeah.
I don't know though. He's considered like I don't know. He's just the man. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Fate of the universe, game on the line. You're giving up on the mic, man. I don't care what you say. Like, there's no prime, whatever. It's just alpha winner, ultra winner,
Yeah.
just the guy. And, we still worship him to this day,
But
maybe
that's
not the
also
best human, but as a winner, as a sport.
hey, listen, man, it could be argued, he did this or that. But at the end of the day, man, the guy was a winner and he made people around him better. Whatever way he did it, be it tough love, yelling, whatever he did, it worked. You think about those moments with Dennis Rodman where he gave Dennis Rodman his space.
Yeah.
That is also an empathetic leader if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, listen, this is what he needs. Let's give him some space. I don't know. It's just interesting, man. I just think what I love most about these products is that it connects you back to those moments. When I look at these hats now, I'm thinking about the different moments I had with my dad, who really wasn't into basketball, but still watch it with me, and explain to my dad why, Michael Jordan was so important, or why this Bulls team was so dominant, or why I was watching that and not the Celtics. Like, it just reminds me of all these different moments. And that's what I love about the vintage aspect of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leon, this was fun, man. This is our first Mitchell and Ness content. I enjoyed doing it. And this is going to be like our formula, right? We're going to show Mitchell and Ness stuff. We're going to talk about the sport and the time it connects to. And that's always fun, man. You and I, even when we were looking through some things prior to filming, it's like, wow, man, you start to remember some things or learn some new things. And
yeah,
it's always interesting.
It's all a blur, right? Like if you're going to bet any money, man, like you could have made a lot of money just betting Michael Jordan back in the day, because
oh yeah, man,
there's not many times he came up short. And it's like, the way I remember it, he just won all the time. Like, that was just, it didn't matter who it was.
You just expected it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You just expected
He's going to come through.
Yeah. And these collections kind of bring that back to life. So Leon, thank you again for doing this with me, man. I appreciate it. I want to shout out Trent Boyd. Trent Boyd is, he moved over from Lids and went over to Mitchell and Ness. He's doing some great things over there. And I know he has a team and some peers that are assisting him in that journey. But Leon and I love to see people win. And we believe Trent and what he's doing over at Mitchell and Ness is gonna continue to make that brand a special brand. So thank you for your time, everyone. Leon, big fella, take us away.
Yeah, let us know which of the champion pack you guys are looking to target. Viewsfromthevault.com for official merchandise. Podcast available on all major streaming platforms. For Pierre and Leon, we sign out, guys. Stay fitted.
And Michael Jordan.
See you,
everybody.
Shout out to Trent.